Okay. Hmm. Are we are we there? Are we live yet? Okay. I turned my ice cream into coffee creamer. So hopefully this works. Hopefully. Let's see. Nope. Needs milk. So we're gonna watch this thing. I think this this case is one of the reasons why people just don't like cops, because they feel like they can do whatever they want, and actually they kind of can. And it's this shit right here that they can do that's highly agitating. But I'm going to turn on some music real quick, and I will be right back. I'm going to fix. Hey there, welcome. All right. Now, lights are fixed, cameras fixed. We are ready for Naruto's leg to be out of the way. We're ready for Naruto to be right there. Hey, Ricky and Michael. Happy Naked Zombie Jesus Day. We're gonna watch this thing. Hold on. We're gonna watch this thing where it's gonna be easy to see why people don't like cops. So we're gonna watch this. Yeah. We're in a great spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and press play. I'm gonna put the chat up here. Okay. There you go. So if you're on Rumble or Facebook or YouTube, you can feel free to chat. I'll see it right up here. There is a delay. So if I don't answer you right away, it's because it's delayed. But I will answer you, if you ask a question that's appropriate, not like some dick shit, whatever. But here we go. We're going to watch this.
The man you see on your screen is Haddon Clark, a deeply disturbed predator who became the prime suspect in the murder of 23-year-old Laura Houdling.
Then how you ate Laura? Cut her up in little pieces until she bled. You tasted the blood and that tasted good and you couldn't stop and you had some more blood. You had some more body parts.
As they pressed this cannibal killer for answers, the interrogation spiraled into chaos, uncovering secrets so chilling that even the most seasoned cops lost their control.
Let's get back to the nitty-gritty.
Come on. Hey, come on, let's get it out, buddy. Let's get it out. Come on. Come on, baby. Let's get it out. Come on, there's somebody in there that wants to come out.
Look,
Please.
this right here.
I will kill you.
This right here is why people don't like cops. This right here is why people don't like cops. It's crazy.
You understand?
Because they feel like they can just do anything. And really, I mean, they can, but just because you can doesn't mean you should.
On Monday morning, October 19th, 1992, the day started uneventfully at Holman Communications, a public relations firm in Washington, D.C. That was
Smoke them if you got them.
until Laura Houtling failed to arrive at work by 9 a.m. This was entirely out of character. By 11 o'clock, her boss, Diana Holman, began to worry. Concerned, she called her daughter Hillary, who was a close friend of Laura, to ask if she had any idea where Laura might be. But Hillary was just as clueless. Acting on her concern, Hillary drove to Laura's home, a house she shared with her mother, Penny Houtling. Laura's car was parked in the driveway, but nobody answered the door when Hillary knocked. Hillary knew that Penny had left town for a week-long conference on Saturday, October 17th, leaving Laura alone at home. Unsure of what else to do, Hillary reached out to the next best person, Laura's brother, Warren Houtling. She left a message on his answering machine. After Warren returned home from work, he received the message. When he did, a sense of anxiety began to set in.
Warren Houtling was Laura's brother, and they were incredibly close.
He went by the house. Laura's car was there, and he went in the house. Everything looked fine. There's nothing disturbed. Apparently, the house was secure.
Warren searched the house thoroughly, but found
Hi, Jasmine Stone. Hello, welcome. This is not my normal content. My normal content is I read the Old Testament, but I do this to spend time with my cousins in the evening time. And yeah, we watch a lot of true crime episodes. It's very family here. We're just watching TV together, chatting. So feel free to like and subscribe and chill with us. It's amazing to have you here. Thank you so much. My name is Nikki K the Great. I am the Sage. I am Nikki. This is my cousin Ricky, and my other cousins will pop in occasionally because we're watching TV and chatting. So feel free to hang out.
nothing else out of place. By 6 p.m., anxiety had set in. Warren called all of Laura's friends and relatives, but none had heard from her that day. The last time he had seen his sister was on the afternoon of Sunday, October 18th, and she seemed in good spirits. Worried that something had happened to Laura outside, Warren scoured the area for hours but found nothing. Finally, after midnight, he called the Bethesda police. Officer David Shupp responded to the call and came to the house to inspect the premises. While he found nothing suspicious, he reassured Warren that the vast majority of missing persons turn up safe within a short time. But Laura's case would be tragically different. The next morning, Warren called Penny at her conference to share the news. She immediately decided to fly home, though she wasn't particularly alarmed yet.
Penny didn't want to believe that anything had happened to her daughter and thought it would not be unusual for her to just hook up with some rich guy and take off to the island somewhere. I'm sure she's fine. You know, she's run off with some friends. She's just being a little spoiled brat and not telling us.
Tension was mounting among Laura's friends and family. What made the situation even more puzzling was that there was no apparent reason for Laura to have.
It's beautiful to have you here. You can ask anything you want to ask. Just the only rules in the chat is no party pooping, like no shitting up people's days. Like, we can talk shit, but like, no personal attacks, and just don't rain on people's parades. Other than that, have a great ass fucking time.
Left on her own. The only explanation that made sense was that something sinister had happened to her.
Nobody had heard from Laura, and this was just totally out of character for her. We checked her bank account, credit cards, checking account. There was nothing there where she had withdrawn money that she would have needed to survive somewhere.
By Wednesday, October 21st, the police conducted a search of the nearby woods, but they found no traces of Laura. In an effort to spread the word even further, they contacted a local television station, hoping that broadcasting her disappearance would prompt someone to come forward with crucial information.
If you know anything about the disappearance of Laura Bettis Hodling, please call Montgomery County Police. She is 6 feet tall, 145 pounds, with brown eyes and shoulder-length blonde hair.
It was at this point that the detectives uncovered their first clue. While speaking with neighbors, one woman came forward with valuable information. She revealed that she had seen Laura on the morning of October 19th, around the time she would typically leave for work.
Laura came out of the house. We're waving to her and she ignores us. I thought that was odd. Then we said, look, can you describe her for us? I said, yeah, she had on slacks and a long jacket.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
While Laura's behavior seemed unusual, the investigators were about to receive an even bigger shock. Penny revealed that Laura had never dressed the way the neighbor described. Nevertheless, the detectives passed on this new detail to the news, hoping it might spark someone's memory. Little did they know, a surprising lead was about to surface, one that no one could have anticipated.
They got a call from some psychic in Virginia, and I don't know anything about this case. I don't know what's going on, but I have this feeling you need to search this wooded area between two churches. It just so happened there were two churches with wooded area very close to where Laura was living.
Following a tip from a psychic, which might have seemed far-fetched in any other criminal investigation, the detectives, desperate to find any clue about Laura's whereabouts, decided to follow it. What happened next, however, would take them by surprise, a startling discovery that no one saw coming, just 4 days after Laura's disappearance.
I came up here to check with the police officers that were doing the search in these woods. When I got here, I asked them how they were doing.
Okay, I don't think a lot of you were in here for the beginning of this. This is very triggering. And the only reason I'm watching this is because this video shows why people just don't trust police. I'm a back the blue kind of guy, but every once in a while you need a reality check that cops can be terrible fucking people. So I'm kind of watching this to my own detriment.
They told me that they found some women's shoes, some women's...
Ooh, Miss Muddy, welcome. Welcome, Miss Muddy. Now the only people we're missing is Teddy Bear, the girl, Firefly, and Drunken Wizard. They should be here soon.
Clothing, and that he found also a pillowcase. They believe that it would have been
Okay, and I'll do my best to not make it really long. Okay.
here a long time because they had stains on it, probably from leaves. You've found things in the woods and they have these stains on them. And as the leaves deteriorate, I said, really? Let me see the pillowcase. As soon as he showed it to me, I knew it was not stained by leaves. That staining was blood.
The pattern on the pillowcases was identical to the one found on Laura's bed.
Like the like button, weirdos. Like the like button. It's a window.
Additionally, the blood type discovered on the
I love you fucking weirdos so much. I love you guys.
pillowcase matched Laura's. What had started as a missing persons case now took a darker turn as police...
Don't leave because I called you a weirdo. It's beautiful. But have the sweetest dreams ever. You know, give the pillow some head and the sheet some ass. Have the sweetest dreams.
feared the worst. Laura's bedroom was now considered a crime scene. Forensic experts were called in to examine the area. Meanwhile, Laura's mother pointed out that the bed was missing both the mattress pad and the bottom sheet, which seemed odd. When the forensic team tested the mattress with luminol, they made a horrifying discovery, one that would change the course of the investigation entirely.
It was covered with blood, and you could just see where a hand was pulled off the bed.
You knew that this girl's dead.
The amount of blood found on Laura's bed led detectives to believe with near certainty that she had been killed in that room, turning the case into a homicide investigation. They thoroughly examined the entire room, taking Laura's belongings for further analysis and testing.
Yay! Yay. I'm so happy to have you here. You have no idea. It's always good to have a new party pen member. I have a chair with your name on it right back there. Jimmy Juggalo's right here. He'll give you a hug anytime you want. And you can bring your animals. I have 12 cats and 5 raccoons. So, yeah. Oh, and somebody has a bird. I think Muddy has a bird. Or Feather has a bird. I think Muddy has a bird. So there's birds.
As the news of Laura's potential death spread, her friends and family were devastated. Yet detectives knew they needed to ask the difficult question: who could have killed Laura, and who had a motive to harm her? Initially, no one seemed to have an answer. However, Warren, Laura's brother, soon dropped a strange detail that would change everything.
And the first night that Laura was missing, Warren looks and here comes his truck. His mom's gardener. He happened to be driving by, and Warren attempted to stop him, to talk to him. But instead of stopping, the gardener drove off fast. He couldn't understand why he would do that. That seemed very unusual.
When Warren later asked the gardener about the bizarre encounter, the man claimed he hadn't stopped because he was afraid of a carjacking. However, the detectives were not convinced by his explanation. The gardener in question, 40-year-old Haddon Clark, had both the means.
I sort of pay attention. I knew somebody had a bird. See? I'm smart. I am the smartest weirdo. Oh, and Jasmine, I hope you don't mind the wolf costume, because we're all sheeps dressed like wolves. We fit in to get in, and we're learning to be good at the world. So, oh, and in my live stream before this, I do Bible reading. I read the Old Testament. It's completely amazing. You can ask Miss Muddy. She might be biased though, because she loves me. She don't know that, but I know that. Anyway, you are always welcome to come there. Make sure you put on your wolf costume, because it can get kind of hairy sometimes. We got to be tough.
And the opportunity to commit the crime. Penny had hired Haddon in early 1992, believing she was doing a good deed by helping a homeless man from a local church organization. He had proved to be a reliable worker, eventually becoming quite attached to her, almost as if she were a mother figure. Penny trusted him so much that she even gave him a key to the house. Despite her complete faith in him, Penny had always known that Haddon was a deeply troubled man.
She went into more detail about how odd he was. She would give him tasks to do in the backyard, such as digging a flower bed, and he would dig and dig and dig, didn't know when to stop.
However, the more disturbing detail was yet to come. Penny revealed that just days before Laura's disappearance, on October 12, 1992, they had a heated argument. Penny accused Haddon of stealing some tools from her backyard shed and yelled at him. This was enough for the detectives to start seeing Haddon Clark in a new light, but when they went to speak with him, their eyebrows were raised even further.
Laura is missing, and Penny is really concerned, and we need your help to try to find her. It was at that point Haddon goes, "Oh my God, I just want to die," and he went down on one knee.
Although Haddon provided an alibi for the time when Laura went missing, the Bethesda police were not convinced of his story. With growing suspicion, they obtained a warrant to search his vehicle, and the search soon uncovered some compelling clues. On October 26, 1992, officers conducted a search of Haddon Clark's truck. During the search, they seized several items, including bedding, hair samples, and personal documents, such as a checkbook register, receipts, and an expense log.
It would have the date and the time when he would buy $10 worth of gas, and then when he would buy $4 worth of power bars. He kept track of every dime that he spent.
Digging into Haddon's financial records, detectives discovered that he had purchased duct tape, braided ropes, and nylon cords several days before Laura's disappearance. As if this wasn't.
Why do they do that? Why do you save the receipt? I tell you what, the receipts always stay in my grocery bags and get thrown away. Why do people keep their receipts? You know what? I need to do that app thing where you scan your receipts and get the money. I need to do that. Never mind. But I don't know why these people do that. Why do they save their receipts?
Isn't alarming enough, the next revelation would send chills down their spines. Haddon had paid for those items with a personal check, and the memo section contained just one word: Laura. Further investigation into his checkbook revealed a troubling entry.
Idiot.
Haddon had paid to rent a storage unit in Warwick, Rhode Island, 450 miles away from the scene. The records showed that he had been at the storage unit on the morning of October 21st, just 2 days after Laura had vanished. Armed with a search warrant, detectives went to investigate the unit. What they found would expose a secret side of Haddon Clark's life, a side that revealed the depths of his deranged and disturbing mind.
He had falsies that he would place into bras. Apparently he had bras, he had dresses, he had female shoes, he had female coats, he had wigs, everything that he could wear and look like a female.
This new development forced detectives to reconsider everything about the case. They now had to entertain the possibility that the
Anybody want to hit this joint?
witness who had seen Laura on the morning of October 19th might not have seen Laura at all. It could have been Haddon Clark, disguised as a woman with a blonde wig, attempting to mislead the investigation. However, the detectives still lacked solid evidence that directly connected him to Laura's disappearance and death. As they continued to meticulously build their case, a major breakthrough occurred. Forensic experts had been analyzing a hairbrush found in Laura's room and discovered 30 hairs, each belonging to Laura, except for one. This singular hair was shockingly not from any person. It was a synthetic strand commonly used in wigs. As it turned out, the discovery of a blonde wig in Haddon's storage unit was no coincidence. In fact, the wig was an exact match to the synthetic hair found on the brush. To further solidify their suspicions, forensic experts uncovered a partial bloody fingerprint on a pillowcase, matching
I'm not going to teach anybody how to crime, but really? Man, really?
none other than Haddon Clark's. With this new evidence, detectives finally had enough to arrest Haddon, but they still faced a major roadblock. They didn't know the whereabouts of Laura's body, which they needed to prove in court that a murder had even occurred. So, on November 6th, 1992, they
See if you can sit through this. Let me know when you quit watching, because I'm going to turn it on full screen, but tell me when you have to stop watching. Okay, because it's fucking wild.
brought Haddon in for interrogation, hoping to extract a confession. Little did they know they were dealing with a psychopath who would not budge so easily.
While the detectives were outside watching and monitoring and recording this.
Ask me what you want to know and I'll tell you.
Can I see my lawyer?
Has Penny been helping you?
I want to see my lawyer.
Okay.
I want to see my lawyer.
You're going to see your lawyer.
I want to see my lawyer.
Do you want to stand up and stretch your legs for a second?
I want to see my lawyer.
Do you consider Penny your friend?
I want to see my lawyer.
Let me ask you something.
Do you like men or women? Is God talking to you?
Dad's talking to me.
Wow. I bet he's telling you that you need to help yourself.
Yeah, he told me to see my lawyer.
Do you consider Penny your friend? Were you sexually involved with her? Did you Penny? Did you her and she rejected you? And you got angry, so you took it out on Laura?
Haddon, help me. Talk to me about Laura. Haddon, what can you tell me about Laura? Do you think she's pretty?
Man, this guy is so fucking. Look, he's a psycho. I get it. He's a bad guy, but man, he holds up. But we're getting to the part.
Did she do something to make you angry? She hurt your feelings?
Haddon, do you have a thing for pillows?
Even under intense questioning, Haddon repeatedly demanded his lawyer, but detectives ignored his requests.
Just keep watching. It gets so, oh man. Just pretty soon you're going to have to tell me when you quit watching.
While it's within the legal rights of any suspect, the detectives knew they were taking a huge risk, especially since anything incriminating Haddon said couldn't be used in court. Still, they were willing to gamble with their careers, hoping for any clue that could lead them to Laura's body. However, Haddon made it clear that he wouldn't cooperate, and now he was simply getting on their nerves.
Haddon? Sitting in there with him and watching his behavior, I expected his head to spin around. Oh my God, is he like possessed? Like, why isn't he talking? What's he thinking? He was just creepy. He was not anyone that you'd want to be in a room with alone on the outside world.
While the detectives in the interrogation room were desperately trying to break Haddon Clark, another team was digging into his past, trying to uncover more about the man they were dealing with. What they discovered about his history would soon make everything they had learned so far seem like mere child's play. Haddon Clark was the second of 4 children, and from a young age he exhibited troubling behavior. He showed no compassion for others, even for his own family. To make matters worse, he had a disturbing hobby of killing and dissecting animals.
Things were wrong with Haddon from the start. There were mental things that were not right. Haddon spent a lot of time in different specialized schools to try to deal with the other matters that caused him to be antisocial.
In 1985, Haddon was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. With no place to live, his younger brother Jeffrey Clark offered to help by inviting him to stay with him in Silver Spring, Maryland. This would mark the beginning of a very dark chapter in Haddon's life, one that would eventually bring him to the radar of the police for the first time. By May of 1986, Jeffrey had grown fed up with Haddon's unsettling behavior. The final straw came when Haddon was caught engaging in illicit activities in front of Jeffrey's children. Disgusted, Jeffrey asked Haddon to move out immediately. On May 31, 1986, as Haddon packed up to leave, Jeffrey decided to take his wife and children out for the day, giving Haddon some space to move. Little did anyone know, this brief absence would unknowingly pave the way for the destruction of another family. One of Jeffrey's neighbors, 6-year-old Michelle Dorr, who was also the friend of his daughter Elizabeth, was going through a difficult time. Her parents, Dorothy and Carl, were in the midst of a bitter and messy divorce. That weekend, Michelle was staying with her father, unaware of the tragedy that was about to unfold.
On Memorial Day weekend, in 1986, Michelle's mother, Dorothy, had made plans to travel to Virginia Beach, visit her family. I had physical custody of Michelle. I thought we would just have a nice leisurely May 31st. I would do whatever Michelle wanted that day. My time was her time.
It was a scorching hot day, and Carl Dorr did his best to make it enjoyable for Michelle. Around noon, he filled a plastic swimming pool in their backyard, where Michelle happily splashed around. Carl watched her play for a while before heading indoors to catch a bit of television. At some point, Carl dozed off on the couch. When he woke up, it was already late in the afternoon. He quickly checked the time, realizing it was past 5:45 p.m. He went outside to call for her, but was struck by panic when she was nowhere to be seen. In desperation, Carl walked to his neighbor Jeffrey Clark's house 2 doors down, hoping Michelle might have gone to visit her friend Elizabeth. To his horror, Jeffrey informed him that they hadn't seen Michelle either.
He said, no, she's not here. And I looked at Elizabeth, and she's not with you. And I couldn't believe what Jeff was saying. And it just didn't register at first, that she couldn't be with Elizabeth. And at that point, I realized that, she's never gone any further than the Clark house, that there's something's wrong.
A frantic Carl combed the neighborhood, calling out for Michelle and searching every corner he could think of, but there was no sign of her anywhere. Desperate, he finally called the police for help. The investigation into Michelle Dorr's mysterious disappearance began immediately. Over the next 48 hours, Maryland police launched an all-out search effort, but no trace of Michelle was found. As the hours stretched into days with no trace of Michelle, the community began to brace for the worst. In their hunt for answers, detectives interviewed local residents. Among them was Haddon Clark, who had a growing reputation as the neighborhood oddball. Many residents already viewed Haddon with suspicion due to his erratic behavior. That suspicion only deepened when a seemingly routine interrogation with Haddon Clark took an unexpected and dramatic turn.
They were questioning him about Michelle Dorr, and that's when he became very annoyed and irritated. He had episode of diarrhea. He made a statement that he might have done something that he doesn't remember.
Despite the apparent red flags surrounding Haddon Clark, he appeared to have an airtight alibi. Surprisingly, that alibi came from someone least expected, Michelle's own father, Carl Dorr. Carl stated that he had last seen Michelle at around 2:10 p.m. on the day she went missing. When detectives investigated further, they discovered that Haddon had punched in his time card at the Chevy Chase Country Club at 2:46 p.m. that same afternoon. This timeline left detectives skeptical that Haddon could have abducted Michelle, concealed any evidence of a crime, and made it to work on time. Combined with a lack of concrete evidence to hold him, they had no choice but to let him go. As the investigation progressed, suspicion shifted to someone much closer to Michelle, her father, Carl. When Michelle's mother, Dorothy, learned of her disappearance, she told police that she believed Carl was responsible. Dorothy revealed that she and Carl were in the midst of a bitter custody battle and accused him of previously threatening to harm Michelle if he didn't get his way. With this new information, detectives asked Carl to take a polygraph test, hoping to clarify his involvement.
Son of a bitch. Wow. How lucky can a killer get? Oh my God, right? Wow. Oh man, that's wild.
To their shock, Carl failed the test, raising even more questions about his role in Michelle's disappearance.
He's trying to tell me that I didn't pass the polygraph test. That's an impossibility. I didn't have anything to do with Michelle disappearing. Don't tell me I failed the polygraph test. That didn't happen.
Convinced that Carl had either kidnapped or killed his daughter, detectives pressured him for a confession. Just days later, Carl did confess, admitting to having a role in Michelle's disappearance. He also provided 2 potential locations where Michelle's remains could.
Holy shit. Are you kidding? No fucking way. Are you kidding? This is no good.
Be found, one being the crawl space of his house and the other inside his father's grave. Police searched both places thoroughly, but they found nothing. The case was becoming more perplexing, leaving detectives wondering about the true fate of Michelle.
I'm sorry, I should have made this announcement. I have to do this. That's why, like, some parts it's like, yeah. But I'm telling you that there is a part where you're going to have to tell me when you had to pause it, because it gets really rough. I forgot about this. And yeah, for some reason he did confess. Like, I don't know why he would confess, but he did. And then he said, check my attic and then this place over here. Places the girl is definitely not going to be.
I couldn't deal with what they were telling me, that we're not going to find Michelle alive. I just was trying to go into some sort of denial about that.
I thought the police were talking about me or something odd, and it's just a total disintegration of my mental health.
Eventually, Carl checked himself into a mental institution for a few days of rest and treatment. After his release, he shocked the public by claiming that he never confessed to Michelle's murder and that the police had misinterpreted his words as an admission of guilt. He also revealed a new perspective on the events of May 31st, stating that he hadn't seen Michelle at around 2.
Okay. Well, then if he didn't, word magic is fucking real, man. Word magic is fucking real. And if that is what they did to that poor man, word magic is fucking real.
2:10 p.m. as he had previously stated, but rather much earlier that day. However, he admitted that he didn't want to come across as an irresponsible parent who hadn't kept track of his child for hours. To back up his story, he took another polygraph test, and this time he passed. The investigation was now back at square one.
But tonight, the physical search for 6-year-old Michelle Dorr is ended. Michelle's father is no longer under psychiatric evaluation. What do you hope for?
I hope that somebody has her that hasn't harmed her. That's what I hope.
Do you still feel that you'll see her someday?
I hope to God, yes.
With the new timeline established, Haddon Clark once again emerged as a possible suspect in Michelle's case, but detectives had no solid evidence to charge him. Days, months, and then years passed, and Michelle's case remained unsolved, with her loved ones still mourning her disappearance. Meanwhile, Haddon continued with his life, but seemed to be drawn to trouble. In September of 1988, Haddon harassed his mother after she confronted him for stealing items from her home in Rhode Island. He was charged with assault and battery and given a year's probation.
Yes. Oh, and I also gotta say, Dustin took pictures of this fucking beautiful ass stray cat, and it's got beautiful blue eyes, and he took a picture of it, and I'm gonna post them on Discord. Jasmine Stone, do you have a Discord?
A few months later, in December 1988, Haddon was evicted by his landlord. In retaliation, he set booby traps in the home, leading to charges of property destruction, though he avoided jail time. In February 1989, he was caught stealing purses and coats from a church while dressed as a woman. This time, he pleaded guilty to theft and served 45 days in jail. For the next 3 years, Haddon mostly kept a low profile, working menial jobs for survival and frequently changing landlords. However, in 1992, his life took a turn when Penny Houtling hired him as a guard.
Would you like my Discord? I don't know how to add you on Discord. Yes, I do. I think. Miss Muddy, are you available? No, you don't need a server. I have a server. You can be on my server. You'll be special on my server. Well, everybody's special on my server, but you could be special on my server. I'll invite you. Because I know what the fuck I'm doing. Wait. Invite people. I invite you. Invite. I'm right here. I'm right here. I do know what the fuck I'm doing. No, the fuck I don't. Ah! What do I do? Wait, I'm doing things. Yeah. Oh, are you gonna do it, Miss Muddy? Oh. Yeah. You can come and be special in the family. Yeah. Hey. Don't nobody know what the fuck is going on. Okay. So if Muddy's got it, if Miss Muddy's got it, then I won't even try to figure it out.
Partner, unknowingly setting the stage for a series of events that would eventually lead him to this interrogation room, accused.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Of one of the
see.
most heinous crimes imaginable. All this information was hard for the detectives to digest, but it also allowed them to take a different approach. Haddon's interrogation would go down as one of the most bizarre in criminal history, peeling back the deepest layers of a sickening mind, while also pushing the boundaries of interrogation tactics. It showed just how far the detectives were willing to go to get their man and uncover the truth.
This is bullshit. This is not how you take down your man. All right. I do not like this. I don't. I'm all for Back in the Blue, but this is too much. Yes. Me and Ricky here are out of control. But there's also my cousin Nolly comes in here, and my cousin Veda Sue comes in here. And there's Firefly, Teddy Bear, CNA Productions, which is Drunken Wizard. They come in here also sometimes. And we do have an angry uncle. He's called Ornan. He's our sick uncle that sits in the corner and talks shit. He's tolerable. But he comes in sometimes.
And they handed me a teddy bear. And this teddy bear had on a bathing suit that was a replica of what Michelle Dorr had on. And they said, take it in there. Do not let him touch it. But I want you to hold it in your lap. And I want you to make the little arms move. And I want to see what his reaction is. His eyes got huge and he just smiled from ear to ear and just smirked.
Wouldn't you though? I'm sorry, but I would be trying to play with that thing. I'm not even lying. Like, I would actually guffaw. Like, you know, I would do that. Like, oh my God, I love that. Can we do it again? Like, what would you guys think? Is this like an unusual thing for someone to do when an adult has a teddy bear? Like, what do you think?
Despite Haddon's strange and unnerving reactions, he remained silent and offered no mention of Michelle during the interrogation. The detectives, undeterred, rotated in and out of the room, each adopting different personas in an effort to break Haddon emotionally.
Drunken Wizard. I swear to God, I was just tired. Well, I don't swear to God because that's blasphemy. But I swear on the sage that is that I was just talking about you. Drunken Wizard. I was just talking about you. And everybody calls him production. I'm the only one that is like Drunken Wizard. CA, can they call you Productions? Can they call you Drunken Wizard also? You don't have to change your name, but we'll know who you are. Drunken Wizard. Anyway, we're going back to this, and we're going to see how long it takes us to watch this interrogation before we have to pause it. And you're going to tell me when you have to pause it because it comes too much.
They pushed further, trying to provoke a reaction by confronting him directly with his disturbing desires, wanting to taste blood and flesh.
Do you want to cry? Want to get the tears out?
Cry for what?
For what you did to Laura? Don't pick at that. Don't eat scabs. It'll make you sick. Is that how you ate Laura? Cut her up in little pieces until she bled. You tasted the blood and that tasted good and you couldn't stop and you had some more.
They don't know that he cannibalized her. I don't even think he did. But they're just making the shit up. I don't know.
Blood. You had some more body parts. Is that what you did to her? That means yes. You didn't say no.
You got a major problem. You're going around here eating all kinds of meat.
You know, Jeffrey Dahmer's getting. What did Jeffrey get? Why?
No, did you get like the problem with Jeffrey Dahmer? You know, he got caught with all these dead people in his apartment, and he had cut their hearts and livers out and put them in the freezer and frozen.
Jeffrey Dahmer's kind of like you. He killed something. I don't know whether you ate him, but you might have eaten some. Did you try any much?
Eat flesh. Eat people.
Haddon remained silent, prompting the detectives to shift tactics. They brought up other infamous cannibal killers and how their actions ultimately led to their downfall, hoping to provoke some kind.
Right here. Right here. I can't get through this. Okay, it starts at 20. I don't know. What is it? 26:58. How far can you get through this?
Kind of reaction from him. When that didn't work, they moved on to discussing his sexuality and preferences, trying to find that one thing that might finally break his silence.
Haddon, what kind of sex are you into? Do you like, when you go out, do you go out with women or do you like to go out with men? Who do you prefer? I mean, if we went out on a date, would you be wearing women's clothes or would you be wearing women's underwear? Do you like stuff like this?
But slowly, the interrogation room began to spiral out of control.
Haddon. You don't like me sitting near you?
Think off you could. Now get over there and sit down. Sit down in that goddamn chair and you stay seated. You act like a goddamn man, stop acting like a kid.
After exhausting every tactic, 2 male detectives stepped into the interrogation room, ready to deliver the bombshell. Haddon Clark was being charged with the murder of Laura Houtling. It was a calculated move, the detectives' final card to regain control over the situation. Over the course of their tense 3-hour questioning, they'd noticed something strange. Haddon had an intense aversion to being touched. They decided to exploit this weakness, hoping to provoke a reaction. But what started as a subtle psychological maneuver quickly escalated into chaos, transforming the room into an unpredictable battleground of madness as the detectives pushed Haddon to the brink of his already disturbed mind.
First of all, you're being charged with murder.
You have to pat me like that? Hit me? I'm not hitting you, I'm sorry. I just like to be friendly. Okay? Why don't you just sit over there? No, God, no. Come on. Sit over there.
You want some
Can I sit over there? No, we're gonna sit together. Can I sit over there? You and I are gonna be friends.
That's good. Hey, buddy. Hey, this is a nice dog. Yeah, I like that dog. What kind of undies you got?
I ain't got no girlies on these today, buddy. Ain't no doubt. Oh, ooh, Daddy. Jackie.
Okay. I made it 29 seconds.
When getting him mad or embarrassed didn't work, the detectives resorted to another tactic, trying to convince Haddon that his only option was to confess because he wasn't mentally sane. By framing the situation this way, the detectives were hoping to either guilt Haddon into admitting the crimes or, at the very least, get him to acknowledge his own distorted mental state.
Nobody holds this against him. Everybody realizes that you got a psychological problem. You're sick. Yeah, you were sick. And if I can show that you murdered this girl, you're going to the electric chair. If I can show you're sane. Okay? You understand that 2 murders makes you a serial murder, means you go to the electric chair. If you're sane. If you're insane, you go off to some hospitals. Sometimes
I can't with this.
voices inside your head. You heard a lot of voices? And let me tell you something else, Ed. Not a little secret we had, you know. There was a lady on a street corner across the road in his house who saw you dressed up like a woman.
You're trying to.
Who was it that walked out of the house?
Is there anything wrong with it?
Just think of
Just
it.
There's this one thing that gives me like post-traumatic stress flashbacks. It's something that happened in college. Like, I can't watch it without having a physio reaction. But it was some kind of thing where the people didn't have no rules and they made the other people eat dookie and shit. And that shit gives me fucking terrible issues, man. Like terrible fucking issues. But this kind of reminds me of that. Like if you don't have no rules, what the fuck? What's stopping you from doing things? But it's like, I think just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? Isn't it that kind of thing?
Did that person carry Laura somewhere? That's not Hayden. That's somebody else in Hayden. Did it go in the house at night? Did it go in the door and sneak up to the bedroom with a knife?
Yeah.
Did it sneak up there with a knife? And Laura was in there sleeping. She was beautiful. And that person got on top of Laura. And got on top of Laura and started got a pillow and put it on Laura. Got a knife out, started cutting. It's an awful thing. It's an awful thing to think of, but we have to get it out of you. It's the only way. I think it's almost out. Bring it out. What did that person do with Laura? What?
No, well, yes, but no, this was an actual fucking psychology thing. There's a tape of it. And I don't know whatever happened to those people, but it's like a famous thing. I don't know. I had to watch it in psychology class once and I fucking broke down. It's like, I can't watch this. Are you kidding? My life is fucking terrible. I can't watch this.
What do you think, Hayden? How you feel?
And I made it like 2 minutes into this.
Let's get back to the nitty-gritty.
Look.
Hey, come on, let's get it out, buddy. Let's get it out. Come on.
I need a cigarette. Oh my
Let's get it
God.
out.
Look,
There's somebody in
smoke them if you got them. For real. Like, oh God. My heart beating is so fast. Smoke them if you got them.
there that wants to come out. Please come out.
Yeah, it was a real life thing. I don't know what it's called. Ricky would fucking know. Maybe Miss Muddy. I think Miss Muddy might be way younger than that also. Yeah. I don't fucking know. I'll look it up.
I will kill you. You understand? Don't ever do that again. Come on, bring it out.
Ask for a lawyer right now. You need to ask for a lawyer.
Okay. What's your favorite movie? Silence of the Lambs?
Despite their relentless efforts, Haddon refused to divulge any information, leaving.
Good. I'm sorry. This is a bad guy. But good. It's very good. I'm sorry. Look, these cops give me PTSD. I don't know. But good on this guy, criminal.
Leaving the interrogation unresolved. Ultimately, the dramatic session came to an end, and Haddon was taken into custody. The detectives later faced significant criticism for their unorthodox methods, but they stood their ground.
And that's how these people who apologize to woke people, they fucking lose. These cops stood up for this shit. Nobody ever said anything. I never heard about this until the other day when I watched it. If you don't apologize for your shit, people forget.
They argued that they had taken the moral high ground and that Haddon hadn't been fooled, not because he lacked intelligence, but because he was cunning and manipulative, using silence as his weapon to avoid revealing the truth. For the next 8 months, Haddon Clark remained in detention, while the Montgomery County prosecutors prepared for a high-stakes trial. Despite extensive police searches across 3 states, Laura's body was still missing. With no body, no witnesses, and no confession, the case hinged on circumstantial evidence, two key pieces, a synthetic hair strand and Haddon's fingerprint on the pillowcase. The lack of concrete evidence weighed heavily on everyone, particularly Laura's family and friends, who feared the worst. If the prosecutors failed to secure a conviction, Haddon could be acquitted, and even if Laura's body were eventually discovered, the Fifth Amendment would prevent him from being tried again for the same crime. However, in a dramatic twist, just before the scheduled trial date in June 1993, Haddon Clark stunned everyone by changing his mind.
The defendant in the Hodling case just pled guilty. The plea was accepted.
That's clever. I'm sorry, but that's clever.
The plea was to second-degree murder.
Yes.
As part of the plea bargain,
Yes, that's exactly what it's called. Yeah. Yeah, that shit was the most horrible shit I've ever seen in my life. I've never had an experience like that, but I've been pretty tortured sometimes. So that shit fucked me up.
Haddon revealed
Okay, not tortured like that. Not tortured like that. But I've, emotionally tortured and stuff.
the chilling reasons behind his actions. In his twisted mind, he had come to view Laura's mother, Penny, as a mother figure, and he harbored some strange and bizarre feelings for her.
I love Penny. She offered me donuts, drink. One time when Laura and Penny were up in Massachusetts going to Penny's house, yeah, I wanted Penny's night. I stuck to Penny drink. We came down.
Look, these motherfuckers are respecting his space now. Do you see this? Oh, because they're telling him what they want to know. Because he's telling them, they're respecting him. Except for this guy's a little close. He might have had some feelings on the first one. But wow.
Penny's night, he ate breakfast. And then when Laura came into the picture, a lot of that stuff stopped.
So in his mind, she really had to go. He really didn't like her. He wanted to be her. Laura really needed to be punished for just being Laura.
Haddon's resentment toward Laura had started to simmer long before the murder, but it was the argument with Penny just days before that added fuel to the fire. The tension between Haddon and Penny had been building, and when she told him she would be leaving town that weekend, it gave him the perfect—
Okay, Jasmine, I got another question. After this, here in 3 minutes, it looks like. No. It's a really long time to explain this guy, but we already know why he did it. Anyway, do you want to watch Pink Floyd's The Wall on Discord?
opportunity to carry out his twisted plan. Just after midnight on October 19th, 1992, Haddon set his plan into motion.
I walk around to the barn. I knew where the key to the house was. I walk in the front door. Yeah, I have a dress on, too. It's interesting. I real nice how that dress on. Took the gun out of the box in the living room. Walked up to her bedroom. Put the gun next to her head. I cocked the gun. I was like, I'm serious. You move, I shoot. I had handcuffs this time. And after I handcuffed her, I tied her with the rope I had. I made her look at me. I told her, you know my name. My first name starts with an L. And my last name starts with an H. You know my name. You don't call me by my right name and I'll kill you.
Haddon's actions that night were chilling in their cruelty and disturbing in their details. Holding a gun on Laura, he covered her mouth with duct tape, suffocating her in the process. As she lay lifeless, Haddon began to remove the tape from her face with a pair of scissors. In his excitement, his hand slipped, and the sharp shears pierced Laura's neck, causing blood to spill onto the sheets and pillowcase. Obsessed with the idea of taking a souvenir, he severed one of her ears while attempting to remove an earring. After this gruesome act, Haddon sat by her body, watching it for nearly an hour, consumed by his twisted satisfaction. At around 3 a.m., he wrapped Laura's body in a queen-sized sheet, slung it over his shoulder, and hid it beneath the cap of his truck bed. Then he returned to the scene of the crime, collected the bloody bedding, and disposed of those in a remote wooded area. Once the evidence was discarded, Haddon returned to the house, changed the bedding to hide the signs of his crime, and went to sleep. The next morning, he dressed as a woman, donning...
Is that 3:30 in the morning? Yeah, then never mind. Because you gotta go to bed like fucking 3 hours ago.
...wigs to further fuel his disturbed fantasies. In an eerie final detail, he used Laura's comb to brush the wig, leaving behind a single synthetic hair strand that would eventually become the key piece of evidence linking him to the murder. The confession was shocking, but Haddon had one final revelation to make as per his plea deal.
Haddon Clark and his attorney would take one of the assistant state's attorneys out and show them where Laura Hoadling was buried.
Laura's decomposed body was located in a shallow grave in a wooded area near a highway exit ramp in Rockville, just outside Bethesda.
The fact that it led to Laura's body was a really good thing for her mother, her brother, and the rest of us.
The Harvard graduate's body was found last night, buried in a shallow grave in North Bethesda.
I remember thinking I'm glad that her mother can bury her, but nothing felt good about it. I never felt any relief from anything.
In June 1993, Haddon Clark was sentenced to 30 years in prison for Laura's murder. Although everyone believed that Haddon's saga had come to a close, with him now confined behind prison bars, it quickly became clear that his story was far from over. He would continue to make waves even within the confines of his cell. In 1999, Jack Truitt, a convicted murderer, found himself sharing a cell with Haddon Clark at the Eastern Correctional Institution in Westover, Maryland. What Truitt didn't anticipate was the depth of madness and the disturbing secrets he would uncover during their time together. Among Haddon's unsettling behaviors, one that particularly disgusted Truitt was his habit of hoarding food, allowing it to rot, and then consuming it days later.
Oh.
However, what...
That is... I just... why? Why?
What unnerved Truitt the most was when Haddon began confessing his crimes to him, believing that Truitt was Jesus Christ.
He really believes that I'm Jesus Christ. He had to confess to me.
You really look like you're Jesus Christ, bro.
That he killed someone in every state in the United States.
Eager to escape Haddon's delusional ramblings, Truitt devised a suggestion that would ultimately unveil a shocking new chapter in Haddon's twisted life.
Whatever you're saying, just write it down. When you feel like you need to tell me something, draw it, write it. Don't talk to me about it. And he said, okay.
I know.
And that's when he started, man. He was just going crazy right down. Haddon's art was so creepy.
All these pictures that he drew were crime scenes.
He would draw clues to other people he killed.
Initially uninterested in Haddon's bizarre and horrifying confessions, Truitt became curious when Haddon mentioned Michelle Dorr's murder. Although authorities had always suspected him, they never had enough evidence to charge him with the crime. Truitt realized that if he could get Haddon to reveal critical information, he might use it to negotiate with authorities for a reduced sentence. After some persuasion, his plan succeeded, and Haddon agreed to talk to the detectives in Truitt's presence.
Back in the 60s and 70s, I was responsible for bringing cannabis to the shore, and I'm kind of proud of it.
Jack told me that Haddon had murdered Michelle Dorr and buried her in a park in Montgomery County, Maryland. I then request one of the correctional officers to bring Haddon Clark into the room. I introduced myself to him and said, I understand that, you'd like to talk to me, but as long as he stays, looking at Jack. I said, well, he can stay.
Haddon went on to explain that on the fateful day of May 31st, 1986, he was furious with his brother for kicking him out. Tragically, the consequences of his anger fell on innocent Michelle, who had wandered over to the Clark house to meet her friend Elizabeth, Jeffrey's daughter. Haddon claimed that the moment he opened the door and saw the little girl, he knew he wanted to kill her.
Michelle came to the house. He said that Elizabeth was upstairs playing in the bedroom and she could go on up. Since he was a chef, he had these knives, and that's when he went upstairs and confronted Michelle, and he killed her in Elizabeth's bedroom.
Haddon threw the little girl to the floor and was on her so quickly that she didn't have a chance to scream. He continued his brutal attack until she was dead. After killing Michelle, Haddon meticulously cleaned up the blood, placed her body in a plastic bag, and then concealed it inside a duffel bag. He then put the bag in the back of his truck and went to work as if nothing had happened. Following his shift, Haddon drove to a wooded area in Maryland where he buried Michelle's body. Disturbingly, he also claimed that before burying her remains, he had cannibalized parts of her flesh. With Michelle's tragic last moments now pieced together, detectives finally had enough evidence.
He's just saying that. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He's just saying that.
To secure a conviction against Haddon. He was sentenced to an additional 30 years for Michelle's murder.
I don't think he's hedonistic because he doesn't punish himself for doing. He gets mad and kills people. He gets mad and he's a paranoid schizophrenic. So he gets pissed off and does something terrible.
For his role in uncovering the truth and helping bring justice, Jack Truitt was later released on parole. However, despite everything, Haddon continued to withhold the exact location of Michelle's remains. In January 2000, Haddon had a change of heart and led authorities to a wooded ravine near Route 29 in Silver Spring, Maryland, where he had buried Michelle.
I was just standing about 20 yards from him, and I looked down and I saw, it looked like a twig at first, and focused in on it. It was a spring.
Yes. After digging for a bit, a pink piece of fabric that popped right out of the ground.
We knew we had found Michelle Dorr.
Everyone wept.
After 14 years, Carl Dorr was finally able to lay his daughter to rest in peace.
It was good to have a place to finally
So bad for the rest
bury Michelle.
because he's a bad dad.
I'm just so sorry she was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and she
No,
met
you
Haddon
should be
Clark.
more sorry.
However, this saga was far from over. Haddon began making even more disturbing claims, stating that it was not he himself but Kristen, his female and more dominant persona, who was responsible for the murders.
Oh, knock it off. Oh my God, knock it off with this shit. No.
Nice to meet you. Okay, that's Kristen. What did you sign for name on there? Kristen.
One of his favorite names to refer to himself as was Kristen E. Bluefin.
That's not real name. And you go to the one
I don't know. The devil doesn't hang around me too much. I talk too much.
Although detectives suspected that Kristen was merely another shield to avoid responsibility for his crimes and seek attention, Haddon insisted that the name was deeply tied to his traumatic and dysfunctional childhood and the way it had shaped his twisted mind.
I saw your mom, she called you bad names.
My brothers and sisters called their friends that. I was raised like a girl anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Why did they raise you like a girl?
Sometimes my parents would use that as a punish. Instead of getting physical with me, they had me wear a dress for school.
Haddon's claims about his childhood were particularly chilling, as they reflected a deeply skewed sense of reality that extended beyond just himself. His elder brother, Bradfield Clark,
Where are the pictures? Like, what is this?
had been convicted in 1985 for killing and dismembering a female co-worker in California, with reports suggesting he had eaten parts of her corpse. As if this wasn't unsettling enough, detectives began to grow increasingly concerned about Haddon's other claims. He began leaving cryptic clues that hinted that Laura and Michelle might not have been his only victims, suggesting that there were many more.
Blah,
Well, some things I would change, but the bad things I did, the murders I did, what I did was wrong. I know that. You didn't ask me about Lauren Henson or Mary Pine. It's Bonnie Beckett, Swiss Wiser.
What does that mean?
Michelle Dorr, Silver Spring, Maryland. Laura Holding, Augusta, Maryland. Maureen Benson, Wallingford, Connecticut. Mary Mott, New Canaan, Connecticut. Sarah Fryer, Wayland, Massachusetts. Bonnie Beckett, Swiss Wiser, Brooklyn, New York.
How do you know their names so well and where they're from?
I get to those areas. I've been all over the United States. I remember certain incidents that I was in the area.
Haddon, who are all these women you just brought up, these names? Who are they? How do you know them?
Wait, someone's at my door. Hey, I gotta go.
Detectives were left uncertain whether Haddon was merely toying with them for amusement or if he was genuinely providing clues about his gruesome crimes. Regardless, they were prepared to take the risk. As the investigation progressed, the FBI took a keen interest in the case. In April 2000, Haddon Clark agreed to guide a team of FBI agents to Cape Cod, where he claimed there were more victims buried beneath the sandy soil. However, his cooperation came with a peculiar demand.
Kristen was the one killing these people, so he had to be Kristen if he was going to take us back to those burial sites.
Oh my God.
He would not go out unless he had on a lady's.
Oh, are you kidding? We need to stop. What? See, I should have watched this all the way through. What is this? Oh my God. What do you guys think about this?
Bra and panties, so we bought them for him. And
I can't.
he put them on. He put on a wig too, and then he had the undergarments underneath.
He put a wig on, and that they'd put him in a woman's shirt in an attempt to try to, get him to cooperate a little more.
Despite the FBI's efforts, the search in Cape Cod yielded no evidence of additional victims. However, in December of that same year, Haddon directed investigators to his grandfather's estate, leading to a shocking discovery.
Right about here, there was about a 3 foot by maybe 3 or 4 foot old trailer, kind of a tag along that you'd hook onto the back of your yard tractor. And underneath was just sand. Trooper Barrett had a metal prod, almost like a big long stick. She took that bar and put it down into the earth, and we heard this boom, made the hair stand up on the back of everybody's neck. And we knew that there was definitely something there. So we were able to dig down and unearth that, and it was a plastic 5-gallon bucket. We weren't quite sure what we were going to find, perhaps some type of body parts. I mean, we really didn't know. After taking the top of that off, we observed a number of pieces of jewelry that Haddon said were trophies from different people that he had murdered over the course of his life.
Among the roughly 200 pieces of women's jewelry found at the estate, several items were identified as belonging to Laura Houghteling. However, detectives were unable to link the other pieces to any known victims. Yet, it gave rise to some chilling theories.
I think the idea of Laura Houghteling's had a trophy in that bucket. There's reason to believe that some of those others, if not all, were attached to actual human beings.
The FBI behavioral science estimated that he had perhaps killed somewhere between 12 and 22 people. And part of the reason that they were able to conclude that was because he was so comfortable around death.
Although Haddon Clark may not have garnered the same level of notoriety as infamous killers like Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy, his crimes were no less haunting. It seemed that wherever Haddon went, death followed. While we may never know the full extent of his actions, there's no denying that he is one of the most evil souls to ever walk this earth.
Okay, so speaking of Ted Bundy, I actually watched something on him the other day. It turns out I know absolutely nothing about that guy, Ted Bundy, because I watched a thing on him and it was like, oh my God, I didn't know any of the stuff about that guy. So, did you guys enjoy this episode? Did we have a great show night? I want to watch Pink Floyd's The Wall. So, there is a thing called Twitch. I've never done it before. But you guys are the only people that come in my live streams anyways. Would you guys download Twitch so we can watch things on there that we can't watch on here? Maybe like Damn. I need to see my chat. I need to see it better. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Yes, I do. I need to make an account. All right. Well, let's find out what you will. Thank you, Jasmine. But I know I am going to end this stream and I'm going to jump over on Discord. So, would you guys want to meet me on Discord for a few? I know you guys got to go to bed. No, not tonight. Not tonight. No. But I'm going over to Discord, so meet me over there, guys. CNA Drunken Wizard. Drunken Wizard. There is no way to talk to you. There is. Okay. Jasmine, I love your face. Well, I'll be on Discord all day tomorrow, so you can hit me up there. Drunken Wizard, I don't know how to communicate with you outside of my live stream. How do I communicate with you? Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. Miss Muddy, I'll be over there. Drunken Wizard, I will talk to you tomorrow during my live stream. I love you guys so much. I will talk to y'all in a bit.